One thing, Mr. Kumar, that I wanted to come back to you with is something that Mr. Singhal also alluded to. You do have that entire carrier ship that you're looking at. And when you talk about US Gerald R. Ford, that can obliterate large swaths of Iran. You're looking at a very big weapon in terms of their arsenal right now. And that is an extremely important development at the face of it. Whether or not US is involved right now in this particular attack in terms of the number of missiles that they've launched in, that's a different matter altogether. But the fact that they have the big military buildup right now, and specifically this particular warship, how are you looking at that? How are you reading into this particular development as well?
I think it's very hard to predict the future course of this conflict because, as my co-panelist said, and I agree with him, you'll have to wait and weigh how the Iranians retaliate, whether they have still the ballistic missile They do not have intercontinental ballistic missile capability to hit the US, I don't think. But they do have missile capability to hit Israel for sure. And so that is something you'll have to wait and watch. But I think the larger issue is really that this military show of force and the rest of it is actually meant to convey a message to the Iranian population that if you want a regime change, now is the time. In fact, I think President Trump, if I'm not mistaken, has said so openly, asking the Iranians that please try and take things into your hands and change the regime. And this is something which has been a political objective of the United States for a very long time. So I would not be in a position to say exactly how long this conflict will last, who will come out better at the end. But one thing is for sure, and that is that you will have a wider conflagration in the Middle East because Iran still has proxies like Hezbollah and Houthis. Hamas may have been defenestrated for the time being, but they still have Houthis and Hezbollah, and they may get into the act. In fact, I can see Lebanon being drawn into this conflict, in which case you are seeing a wider conflagration, which I can't believe is in anybody's interest at this time. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Kumar, you make a very important point as well that you could see duties coming in because IDF has actually put out that there is an additional barrage of missiles that have been launched towards Israel, and also that a report from AAP coming out that Yemen's Iranian-backed Houthi rebels are resuming attack on the shipping red corridors. Now, of course, this has been told by two rebel officials to AP, but multiple reports coming in at this point of time. Do you think that we could go back to the era where we saw that shipping freight prices will continue to move up because you see that the Red Corridor and the Red Sea Corridor will continue to be under threat at this point of time, something that we saw in the last year as well? And what will be, this time around the reactions coming in, according to you, Mr. Kumar?
No, I think that goes without saying because a wider instability in the Middle East, or what we call West Asia and what the Westerners call Middle East, a wider instability in the Middle East will have 2 or 3 economic implications. One, as I said earlier, the price of oil. Second, all the sea lanes of communication with their choke points will get involved. Third, don't forget the US has got its 5th fleet in Bahrain. I was India's ambassador to Bahrain for 4.5 years, and I know how significant the Strait of Hormuz is for the flow of oil. Almost 25% of oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And that is going to be a big issue because Iran can they had actually shut down the Strait of Hormuz last week just for drilling and so on. But they are fully capable of doing it over the long term. And that will have larger implications. But I think I want to conclude by saying the bases, the American bases and the American military personnel are key to this whole thing. I don't think the administration can have the American personnel and the bases being attacked and then they can't keep quiet about it. With the midterm elections coming, there is a political scenario in the US, so I don't think they can keep quiet. And that worries me just a little bit because then you might see what is known as escalation dominance, as the military people say. And if you're going to get into escalation dominance with Iran not bothered anymore because they have nothing to lose, and with the US really concerned about loss of life and property, then I think you will get into an escalation scenario which cannot be good for the world at large.
No, absolutely. That's a very valid point that you've made there, Mr. Kumar. And Mr. Singhal, I also wanted to go across to you and try and get a sense of what you also think about this. At this point, as things stand, you do have America, that is Iran, completely surrounded. You have Qatar, Israel, Bahrain as well, as Mr. Kumar also pointed out. How are you looking at this entire development in that sense also? Is that something that is ringing alarm bells for you right now? And how are you also reading into this?
No, I completely agree that the situation at this moment is very fluid, and as I see at this moment, Iran is trying to contain the situation. Is just attacked Israel at this point, and it's not trying to. Maybe the Houthis, as you mentioned, maybe the Houthis are also started attacking, sending some missiles to Israel, but at this moment, unless and until American get directly involved, I think Iran would like to keep it only between Israel and Iran, because it feels that maybe it feels that, if as long as it's only the Israel and Iran, they can contain or they can control the narrative, which may or may not be true. But USA has to come into the play ultimately, maybe if not today, tomorrow, because otherwise the President Trump will lose face. And this time, the kind of declaration he has made, he has to come into play, and that is the time I feel that other countries or nearby countries will get involved. And as we're talking about the Iraq corridor and Strait of Hormuz and other areas, they will get involved, and oil prices are certainly will go. In any case, I think today evening we'll see that the prices are going up. In any case, insurance is up already, and the prices will start going up. So that is, of course, is going to be a challenge.
Right. Well, we are getting you, of course, live updates on this. That almost 30 to 75 missiles have been, bombarded towards Israel at this point of time. And you can see some of those live images also coming on your screen right now as we bring you this latest update. But Mr. Kumar, let me come back to you, because you made an important point that midterm election in 9 months. Currently, a lot of news flow within the US has been dominated by the Supreme Court striking down the tariffs. And, you saw President Trump make a speech as well at the Congress. At this point of time, do you also feel that this could be a very good opportunity for President Donald Trump to save face in that sense and go ahead and have the next step of what's happening between Israel and Iran? Do you think that this could be the saving grace for him also at this point of time?
That may have played a part. I don't deny that. But I doubt that was the central objective of all this. I think right from the time, that you had the horrific incidents in Israel, and then you had the Gaza and so on, President Trump wants to be known as a peacemaker. And one of the regions, I think, which is tough, it's a tough nut to crack, is the Middle East. You can do much better. Venezuela, I think he has achieved success. But in the Middle East, it seems to be much more difficult for past presidents have tried and failed. So this may be an area where President Trump genuinely believes that he can bring his deal-making ability to the fore and so on. But I wouldn't underestimate the dangers of doing so, because I find it interesting, as I said, and I want to repeat to your audience, that it is very unusual for a sitting president to get involved in a military operation and then alert his country that there may be loss of life. Please be prepared for it. That sounds ominous, and that's why I'm saying that I do not see an end to this operation in the near future, and we may be in for it for the long haul. So we will just have to wait and see. I think, speaking from Iran's perspective, it will be just regime preservation. That would be their only objective at this point, which is why I think they will not hurt American objectives or American objects so easily. They will not do that. For the time being, they will take it out on Israel and wait and see, because they know that a further escalation will actually call into question the very existence of the Iranian regime.
No, absolutely. That's a little bit of a war that they have on the home front as well. Mr. Singhal, I wanted to take that point to you. A couple of important developments that we should be looking at closely. When you put two and two together, you do have, number one, Iran's supreme leader being moved to a safe location. And also, when you read into the fine print, you do have the kind of messaging that you're seeing from Donald Trump's statement. Do you think the focus is very clearly on regime change when it comes to Iran in terms of the intention of this particular strike?
That, President Trump, when you look at his message, his latest statement, he is giving two or three messages. One is, telling that, that Iran has to give up its weapon, has to risk and also give up the missiles and willingness to accept losses. And then, of course, he's giving message to IRG that you lay down the weapons and get amnesty, or you are going to be killed. So, and message to the citizens of Iran that, this is for you to decide which regime you want. So he is giving multiple messages at this moment, addressing different constituencies, including his domestic constituency. And the way I completely agree with my senior colleague that Iranian will look for the preservation at the moment to preserve themselves, because they know if the America comes out with full might, then they will have no choice but to get obliterated one way or the other. So they will try to preserve themselves. And but President Trump, either himself or under pressure, I do not know. It's very difficult to guess about him in any case. That he is now, this time, he has decided that he has to come out with full force for whatever reasons, maybe domestic pressure, maybe his own calculations, because he has been against Iranian regime for even if you remember the first term also. He is the one who gave up this agreement which Obama signed. So he has been against them, and now I think he has come out, he's made up his mind that this is the time for change. And
Right.
but what will be the costs for everybody around, to the neighboring countries, to USA,
Absolutely.
or to us even? To us, we don't know. We
No,
don't know.
absolutely. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking time out and joining us this afternoon. The bottom line is that it is ominous. The bottom line is that this is a lion's roar. This is no Operation Midnight Hammer that you're talking about. This is happening in broad daylight and a situation that is currently evolving. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us.